Hello, good afternoon, everybody. So today I will gonna be talk about the one of the design of epidemiology. So we will gonna talk about descriptive epidemiology. That we'll know that in the design of epidemiology, we know that there is descriptive and analytic epidemiology. So today we will gonna be talk about descriptive epidemiology. Okay, I will share the screen. Okay. Okay, descriptive studies is about person, place, and time. So this is the keywords of descriptive study: person, place, and time. There is a three variable that usually we should consider and that should be included in descriptive studies. So descriptive epidemiology includes activities related to characterizing the distribution of disease within a population. So descriptive, we can remember about the descriptive and describe means describing something, characterizing the distribution of disease within a population. So maybe distribution of disease, and then we can categorize into place, person, and time. And in other hand, analytical epidemiology will concern about activities related to identifying possible causes for occurrence of disease. So in the analytics epidemiology, we analyze between two variables using several statistics methods. So there's differences between descriptive and analytic epidemiology. So descriptive is we only describing, but analytic epidemiology, we have hypothesis. We will assess the hypothesis and will be analyzed between dependent and independent variables. So we're going to be talk about descriptive epidemiology. So in the descriptive epidemiology, like I mentioned before, it will be who, it will be person, where, it will be variable of place, and when, the variable of time. So we will describing the phenomenon of the health problems or disease in person, place, and time. So place, person, and time. And think of this as the standard dimension used to track the occurrence of disease. So the first is about persons. So who is getting the disease? So it will be interesting to see who the character who is getting the disease. Many variables can involve and studied in this variable, the variable persons. Usually like sex, age, race, and it often have made a major effect on that the characteristic of the who is getting the disease. So for example, the characteristic of person like age, we can in the analysis of descriptive, we can dividing or categorize the age group of the person who getting the disease, such as children and adult, or in the older persons, or we can have another criteria depending on what the reference of the age group we have. Because sometimes this is also a different between age group. because the age group is also will tell us about the immunity of persons. Like in children, we know that the immunity in the children is still not developed well. So then they risk of getting disease. And also, for example, in the older person that have comorbid like hypertension, diabetes mellitus, and other chronic disease will have lower immunity status compared to maybe the adult that's still or young person that's still active, having good immunity. They will attack the infections of the communicable disease, for example. So analyzing data of who is getting the disease by age also interesting. And then about sex, female or male, who is more prevalence to get the disease. Every disease is maybe different, so it will be interesting also. Ethnic groups and socioeconomic status, maybe socioeconomics people with a limited budget to providing good food for family, providing security of the health care, and also how to build a healthy home for them, and also for raise the children with a good education, for example. It also will have influence with the risk of the person to get the disease. And about the nativity, religions, maybe, for example, some of religion will have a tend to not vaccinated their children because of the belief of the religions, and that will influence the determinations to get their children vaccinated, for example. And also then marital status, maybe related to the reproductive or the disease that related to the marital status. And then occupation also. There is several occupation that maybe more have risk to get the disease. So the characteristic of person within age, sex, ethnic groups, socioeconomic status, nativity, religions, marital status, and occupations also important to have influence about how to get how the characteristic of the persons of the getting disease. This is the example how the data presentation of age. So the reported cases per populations and the age group. We can see, for example, the disease is more prevalent in the population that less than 1 year. We can have another example of age. You can look, you can browse more reference about this. And then this is age. This is another example. This is the example that the older person that 60 years old plus will have more prevalence to get these kind of disease or health problems. This is another example of female and males and female comparisons about this is two variables, age group and also males and females. We can also have one data presentation in this chart. And then about time, the variable of time, we will see when does the disease occur. So it is several diseases will have like maybe 10 to more have incidents in the rainy seasons or in the dry seasons. This is also interesting to find out. So this is the range from hours to decades. A type of disease dictates time element to be used. So a graphic format often use the vertical of frequency and the horizontal is time. So this is the example of the number of cases, and in the below is the months August, September, or we can have like 1 year trends. We can see the trend of disease between months or maybe between yearly, but in time, in every month, we can see the trend of disease. If there is any specific trends or there is like unregular pattern or regular pattern of disease, we can see when we analyze by time like this. And characteristic of relating to time, we can have long-term, of short-term, of cyclic trends. Sometimes like epidemic of disease, we have cyclic trends. Like chikungunya, we know that chikungunya in Indonesia, for example, we have like 5 years cyclic trends. Maybe because of the climate and also the immunity of persons. We know that chikungunya, unlike the dengue has more regular, more endemic. But chikungunya, they will the person will have more longer immunity. So 5 years cyclic that will be usually related to the disease. And also we can see about the seasonal variations of time relating to the disease. So this is the example of the graph. This is the patterns, the secular chains. This is the long term. We can see the year and also the cases. So how the trend of the disease. So this is also the chains here about several health problems in stomach, ovary, pancreas, uterus, breast, for different of these diseases and also time. So in time also we have the point epidemics that short-term changes occur over limited time frames, like hours, days, weeks, and months. And this is used for short-term exposure or disease with short incubations and illness duration. Usually such as like food-borne disease that usually have like short incubation times. This is the point epidemics. So this is, for example, that date of onset and also cases, for example, work on river, and this is by day, by we can see how the cases rise and then decrease again. This is there's two categorizations between the probable cases and confirmed cases between the week of onset. And the cyclic trends. Cyclic trends may be at the long term or short term also. Some obsessional, while others are cyclic due to the other factors like immigrations, school year, maybe disease related to in the children, or military deployment. So this is the example of data presentation about cyclic trends. So maybe yearly of every 5 years, we with the descriptive epidemiology, we can see the cyclic trends of the disease. So this is the example of seasonal variations of encephalitis and meningococcal infections. So seasonal variation can be seen for some disease or condition falling within a calendar year. Okay, so this is also the example of seasonal variation can be used to suggest possible etiology also. And also time clustering, maybe time clustering data can sometimes be used to trace the beginning to introduction of specific causal agent. So for example, the thalidomide and birth defects or toxic shock syndromes, the Staphylococcus aureus infection in women using newly introduced hyperabsorbent tampons. So this is also the example of time clustering, menstrual and non-menstrual, and this is the time when the relay tampons introduced, and then suddenly there's the increase of the cases, and then when the relay tampon taken off the market, and then the cases decrease. And the last variables in descriptive epidemiology is place. Place is we can use to answer where the rates higher or lower, where the geographic location of source or geographic location of reservoir. We can see about this. For example, we all know about the John Snow story and cholera in London. John Snow is the father of epidemiology, and then when the cholera outbreak in London and people find out what the etiology of this disease. So this is the first remarkable work of John Snow that he has hypothesis that the source of the health problems is about water pump, because at the time London people use water pump to drinks, to cook, and to fulfill their needs of daily needs. John Snow has this hypothesis because he tried to pinpoint the coordinate of the cases who getting the cholera, and she found out that the cases is clustering in the people who live near the water pump. So he placed the pinpoint into map, like he made a spatial epidemiology, spatial map that tried to describe about the cases of the cholera at the time in London, and also put the location of water pump. So, and then John Snow recommend to the public institutions or government at the time to stop the use of water pump, because he believed, or his hypothesis, the problem is about the contaminated water. But he didn't know exactly what the agent of the disease, but he believed that there's something, there's a problem about in the water that consume the people in from their water pump. So after the government implement the Jon Snow recommendations, and then the cases is in decrease significantly, and then the cholera outbreak can be controlled. So this is the example of how place description can help to control the disease. So then after several years, we know the Vibrio cholera is the etiology of the cholera. So this is an example how analyze the place is also important and also have a benefit, the benefit to solve the problem about the disease. So there's a 5 criteria of places: rate observed in all ethnic groups in the area, rate not observed in person of similar groups inhabiting other areas, or healthy person entering area get ill at the same frequency, or people who live do not show similar levels or similar level of infestation in other species if zoonotic disease. We can have several analyses about place in descriptive epidemiology. So characteristics relating to place like international or variation within countries like urban, rural, or local, and also we can building maps like Jon Snow do with the cholera outbreak. So this is also the example of the analysis of places. So we can have map. Map is useful because it's visual. People love visual, and this is more easy to get the information from picture of maps compared to maybe tables, for example. So the different variation of data presentation also will be useful for people to get to understand the information that we will give to the persons. So this is local, or we can build a map, and we can also can have interaction of time and place, like time place clustering, or the migration trend of people. So I think this is the explanations about descriptive study. We can see there is about 3 variables: a person who is getting the disease, time when is getting the disease, and place where the disease is high and low. And there's a very many benefits that we can have with doing the descriptive study of epidemiology. I hope this information is going to have beneficial for you. Thank you for your participation and also attention. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you.